Welcome to Tentative Title with Tim. This is a podcast about creativity, about process, about filmmaking, and about screenwriting. Welcome, everybody, back to the podcast. Once again, I hope everybody out there is doing well, no matter where you happen to be in the world at this time that you're listening to this. So, today's topic, I wanted to talk about the idea of comparisons. To be an artist comes with a lot of baggage, and one of those the heaviest part of that baggage is comparison. You can't help but look at what somebody else is doing and either think that what they're doing is really great and that you'll never reach, that where they are, or that you can look on somebody who's just starting and say, well, I'm much better than they are, and there's no way that like they're ever going to get as good as I am or get better than I am. Like it kind of like runs the spectrum in terms of like ways that us as human beings, as creative people, try to kind of compare ourselves to other people. And it really kind of, it creates this pecking order, at least in the film business, where, it's just like, it's endless. Like you can pick anything that somebody is doing and create a comparison that relates to you. It's such a narcissistic thing to do, but yet you can't help but find yourself every once in a while looking at what somebody else is doing, especially if they're being very successful, and say, man, I wish I could do that same thing. I wish I was as good as they are. And there's no reason why over time you can't be just as good as them, if not better. So that's the topic I wanted to talk about. Because, the famous quote of comparison is the thief of joy. Yeah, it's true. Because if you constantly spend all of your time comparing yourself to other people, you'll spend all of your time focusing on that and not focusing on doing the work, on making sure that your skills are growing over time. You just end up essentially just being online, comparing yourself to what other people are doing, and you end up wasting a lot of time. So that is the extreme. That's the bad part of comparison, because it can stop you from being creative. It can put you into a rut. It can make you feel like there's no way that you're going to get any better, or that there's no way that you can be as good as somebody else. And I want to kind of put that out of your head, because you don't have to be as good as they are. I'm not saying don't have high standards. I'm saying that person is on their own journey. That person is making their own decisions that have benefited them and gotten them to where they are. But those same decisions, if you tried to do the same thing, if you tried to follow their playbook, would not work out for you. It wouldn't work. And that's a very exciting revelation to have, is that our path is kind of all our own. Like you can read how somebody, quote unquote, made it in the business, but your path is never going to be the same as their path. And you're never going to have the same kind of opportunities. You're never going to find yourself in the same place that they are. And, growing up with these titans of cinema, like Spielberg and Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola and Martin Scorsese and, Michael Mann, just all of these great filmmakers. And you watch their films and you're like, wow, there's no possible way that I can ever reach that point. It's impossible. But it's impossible to be replace them, or replace their shoes. You know what I mean? To be able to be the next Michael Mann, the next Steven Spielberg, the next whatever. that comparison does not work because there's only one. There's one Spielberg, there's one Lucas, there's one Scorsese. Like, there's only one, and they have their own style. They have the lessons that they've learned over doing many movies over the years, that they will approach a film in vastly different ways. And that's great, because that means that, like, they have a particular vision that they are trying to achieve when they approach a story. And, not to say that, like, they don't take inspiration from one another, not to say that we can't take inspiration from what these filmmakers have done before, because everything that we create is going to be built on what somebody else has done before. And that's a great thing too. It means that we don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. We can just build on what has been there before. And not to say that we make it better, but that we can kind of bring it into the future. And that's very exciting. And so to have this kind of like mentality of comparison really just, I wish it didn't exist, quite honestly, because there are a lot of filmmakers in my area that I'm amazed by what they are able to do and what they're able to accomplish. And, I've talked to them about their process, and I'm just like, wow, you guys just like, you guys just go out and you just get it done. And that I'm like, that is like the opposite of what I like my personality, where I carefully try to plan things. I carefully try to make sure that I'm ready to go into production. Like, I feel like there's all these like moving parts that I have to make sure are in motion before I even step on the set. And these guys are like, no, you just go out there and you do it. Like, you kind of force yourself to be ready to go on set. And you expect things to go wrong. You expect that things are going to fall through. And that's kind of like I don't want to say that's the fun of it, because that's really, really stressful. And it happens on even the big films where, there's millions of dollars on the line. And, things are like, you hear stories all the time, in the behind the scenes, where things just like, things happen, things fall through, things, like, just life happens, and it kind of disrupts any plans you might have had. And so you have to pivot. You have to find, sometimes it's a good thing, you find something even better than what you had planned, because you were kind of forced into that corner. But I mean, these guys, I'm like, wow, I can't believe that they're able to accomplish what they are able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. And it kind of, as much as it inspired me and got me excited about what I'm able to do, a part of me kind of like shut down a bit, to be honest. Like, I was like, wow, if these guys are able to like do this, and I'm having so much trouble getting the bare minimum like done, it was like, wow, why should I even try? Because like, by the time I get, 1 or 2 films out, they've already gotten like 4 or 5 films out. And I'm like, I can't compete. There's no way that I can compete with their output. And then I thought, I don't have to compete with them necessarily. Like, if there's any way that there is a comparison, a healthy kind of like competition, it's in the quality of film. And if I, and not to say that I'm in competition with these other filmmakers, because I love being on their sets. I want to help them get their stuff made as much as I hope that on the flip side, they want to help me get my stuff made. If I come to them and say, hey, I got a script, I'm trying to make it. And, there's a whole community out here in the Bay Area that we're just like, we're trying to just get each other's stuff done and out into the world, because, we're up against Hollywood that's, like 5 hours south from here. So the fact that we have this built-in community of filmmakers who are just trying to get it done, trying to get things out into the world, it's very exciting. And if anything, it's like the comparison that I feel that I have is that I want to contribute to that output as much as I can. And so that means I need to like put my head down and start to really cranking stuff out, start really like getting myself out there to just be involved more. And, being a dad, it's really hard to do sometimes. Like any parent out there, if you're listening, how hard it is to, to kind of work around a schedule like a film. And it can be extremely hard to, especially if it's not your film, that if somebody, gives you a call and it says, hey, can you be on my set, tomorrow? It's like, I can't. Like, I have to find a babysitter. I have to find somebody to watch the kids. Like, that's such short notice. I don't know if I can just do that. So that it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, that's a struggle that I know that I have that, is fine. Like I love being a dad. I love being able to share my love of films with my kids. But it also means there are some limitations, and that is, and that is part of it. But, as much as I might compare my own, kind of output to other filmmakers who, they don't have families, so they're able to move quite quickly and get stuff done, and their only limitation is their own energy and their focus. It's like, well, yeah, that's not something that I can do at this moment, so I have to wait until, my kids are a bit older where I can feel like I have the freedom to kind of drop everything at a moment's notice and go on set because I know my kids can take care of themselves. But yeah, this kind of brings me to the other part of comparison, because I don't want to talk about comparison as being necessarily all bad, because like I said, comparison can actually motivate you. It can be a catalyst for you to look at what somebody else has done and say, wow, they were able to accomplish that. Let me see if I can do even better than that. And this healthy competition that can kind of play out. So I was watching, I think it's called McCartney 321. It's on Hulu. It's this documentary where Paul McCartney, from the Beatles, is just chatting about, writing songs and just, things in the past, being one of the Beatles and just kind of like all the process of how they wrote their music and the the different dynamics between each of the band members. And he was talking about how when they were writing, I'm blanking. I see the cover in I forgot. But so they were writing an album, and I'm gonna have to look it up later. I'm sorry guys, I can't think of it, but it's like the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Band, if I got that right. So they were writing that album, and so the reason why they were writing that album is because they saw what the Beach Boys were doing, because they had released their album Animal Sounds, and so they were listening to that and they were like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. How can we do that? How can we make an album that's like that? How can we compete against that? And so that got them motivated. That kind of gave them the creative juices to like go into the studio and to really work out this album where they were, essentially playing these alternate versions of themselves, or this alternate like band, to create this this concept album, I guess you could say. Like it was a comparison that motivated them to bring something more to the table, to create something that in a sense could be up against that album and quite possibly be a step better than that. And I'm like, I'm watching this documentary and I'm like, yeah, like, I don't know if we have like competitive artists anymore. Like it just seems like there's so much out there that, like maybe you can look at something and it can inspire you to make something like it. But like, for the most part, it's like you never hear about necessarily rivalries unless you're talking about like music or if you're talking about like sports. But in terms of like, like a filmmaker saying, yeah, I watched this one film and I saw that and I was like, I can do better, or I want to do better than that, or like I can take that concept and I can take it even further. And I'm sure there are stories out there that I haven't heard, but that to me is a way in which you can make comparison exciting. You can see what somebody else has done and said, and if it's really good, I mean, obviously, like, give them kudos. Say, hey, man, you or woman, whoever made the film, just like, wow, that was amazing. And then say, okay, well, I think I can do better. Like to have a little pride, a little confidence, a little bit of like, fire under your belly to say, you know what? Yeah, like that was good. And now let's push that a bit further. Let's see if I can do something better. And I think it's exciting. Like I don't think anybody should be offended if somebody wants to make something better than what they made. Like if anything, it just motivates you to make something better than what they made. And sometimes that even means that person that that you want to make something better than wants to be on your set. Wants to help you make it because they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, you want to make something better than what I made? Okay, let's do it together. Let's collaborate. Let's take what I've already done and now let's see like what your spin is. It's like, why not? Like, why? There's no reason that these things need to be like these competitions, these comparisons need to be in bad blood. Like they should be fun. They should be like one of those things where it's like you're moving the needle. You're creating something better, and if you can create that relationship with those people where you're making stuff together and you're making each other better and you're constantly like upping the standard of what it is you can do. It's like, why not? And not to say like there are some people who are like, I don't like, oh, you think you can do something better than me? Well, screw you, man. Get out of here. And it's like, that's fine. That's fine. Like some people don't like competition. Some people don't like being challenged. And especially nowadays, it's like people really don't like being challenged. They think it's that there's some kind of insecurity out there that, like somebody might actually make something better than them and they don't like it. And, instead of like constantly like trying to make something, better than what they did before, they just kind of wallow in the comparison. While you're out there, trying like taking steps to do something better. So yeah, that's just what I've been thinking about, just I think as much as, comparing ourselves to other people, it's like, yeah, it can really drag on, on your emotions, and it can make you feel like crap, and it can make you feel like you're not supposed to be here kind of thing. Like, man, I can't, like all these people out there are doing things that are way better than what I do. And, like, well, what's the point? And it's like, well, don't feel that way. Don't ever feel like, what's the point? Yeah, and this is coming from somebody who constantly looks at his work and says, you know what? What's the point? This is never going to be as good as so-and-so, or, like it's going to take so much time to get to a point that I want to be, as good. It's like, it's just, it feels like a mountain that I'm climbing every day. And it's like, no. Like, it is possible to get there. Like, if this is an industry where you can start at any time. Like, it doesn't matter what age you are. Like, you can start at any time, and you can go far really, really fast in a short amount of time. but sometimes you spend a lot of that time, just kind of working out the process, working out the, the things that are going to get you there in a quicker amount of time. So anyway, guys, I don't know if you can hear it. Somebody's doing donuts outside my window. It's quite annoying, but anyway, that's all I got for today. Thank you guys for listening. Once again, like in the spirit of competition, the spirit of like trying to make things better than they were before. If you have any critiques, if you have any suggestions, if you have anything about this podcast that you're like, Tim, you can really up your game if you just do this one thing, or I have this suggestion, you can do this or that or the other thing. It's like, bring it to the table. I'm willing to listen. But if not, that's fine. I'll just keep trying to do better. So anyway, guys, like, share, subscribe, rate, all that kind of stuff on whatever platform you're listening to this on. And I will talk to you on the next one. If you'd like to connect with me, there is an email for the podcast. It's tentative.title.with.tim.podcast @gmail.com. There's also a Twitter account. The handle is @title_Tim. There's also a Facebook page where you can post questions, or you can connect with me there. Thank you guys for listening. I'll talk to you on the next one.